Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is a very special one. We're going to custom create a holiday palette. A holiday palette that is absolutely perfect for this season. I really enjoyed curating this palette. This is the swatches. I'm going to show you all the swatches, all the products that I used to custom create this palette. So if you're ready, let's begin. I'm also going to create this eye look with you guys using these shades. So without further ado, let's start on with the first shade. I have 12 shades in front of me for my dream custom holiday palette. So without further ado, let's begin. Of course, I have to get shades out of the Minka palette because I feel like this is a perfect New Year's Eve palette. So the first shade is Minka from the Minka palette. So let's watch that. Obviously, I need like a very tiny little bit, and you can see like how shiny, how glittery that is. And we definitely need like a silver glittery sparkly shade for the holidays, and that is our first shade. Now let's move on to the second shade. The second shade is from the Patrick Ta palette, and I definitely wanted like a smoky shade, and I used this shade called Affair. It's like a burgundy brown shimmery shade, like a creamy shade. So let's watch that. I felt like this is definitely needed for my holiday palette. Like I love a burgundy eye. Oh, so smooth. Okay. So that is Affair from Patrick Ta as our second shade of the palette. Now let's move on to the third shade. The third shade that I included again is from the Minka palette, and this third shade would be Emma. This one, I feel like it has like enough gold, but it has like a, how do I say? It's not like a gold. It has a gold, but it has like a bronze texture to it. So I hope you can see that. Like look how beautiful that is. I love this shade for like holidays. Oh my God, this is stunning. So that is our third shade, which is Emma. And look how glittery and shiny it is. We'll come towards the matte shade, but obviously this is a holiday palette. You have to include shimmers, right? We're talking about the mattes. Let's move on to the first matte of the palette. And the first matte, I took the shades from the Bronze Seduction palette from Pat McGrath, and I definitely wanted like a deep brown shade, but it has to have like a tint of burgundy in it just to capture like the holidayness to it. So I want to swatch this shade, which is Disobedience. So let's watch that. Now you can clearly see like it is neutral, but it will deepen up this like beautiful shimmery looks on your eyes. Love it. Absolutely love it. I feel like that is definitely necessary in this palette. So again, this is Disobedience from the Bronze Seduction palette from Pat McGrath. Now we need like a special shade in the palette. Do we not? Because these are like the regular shimmery all goodness, but I definitely wanted to include like my shade that I created from Pretty's for Your Face in this palette, because this is truly amazing shade. And I'm talking about this shade, and this is called Glacier from Pretty's for Your Face. Look how beautifully it shifts. It's a multi-chrome shade. They call it a mega chrome. And I definitely wanted to include this shade. So let's watch that. It shifts from like, the strong part is the purple, but it shifts to like a green, to a pink, to a purple, to a orange. It's so pretty. Look at that shade. Can you see? I hope you can see that shade like shifting. I definitely wanted this in the palette. Like my holiday palette would not be complete if I do not include this. So pretty. Okay, I cannot get over that shade. Another shimmery shade that I generally use in like winter season especially and the holiday season is like a deep dark blue. And I wanted that blue in like a shimmery format. So I felt like this is going to be perfect for the holidays. And this is Watermark from JD Glow. Again, look at the texture, how pretty this shade is. Let me swatch it for you. It definitely has like that deep dark blue shade to it, but it shifts like a teal shade. It's really pretty. So let me swatch it. Stunning. That is again Watermark from JD Glow. Really, really pretty. The next shade is another special shade from the Bronze Seduction palette. And of course, I'm going to use this shade, and this is Astral Luna Gold from the Bronze Seduction. It appears like a white, but it strongly shifts to like a gold. Let me swatch it for you guys. And it has so much of texture to it, and it's a baked shadow. So you can like top it on top of any shade or place it by itself, and it creates so much of dimension to it. Again, this is Astral Luna Gold from the Bronze Seduction palette. I don't even know if you can see it or not, but it has like a beautiful toppery gold shade. It's really pretty topped over anything or by itself. It's amazing. I definitely wanted like a topper shade in this palette. It's really, really pretty. Okay, let's move on. The next shade is a matte shade. I definitely wanted like a burgundy shade in the palette, and I was looking for like a deep maroon shade, because I feel like if you want like the brown route, we do have Disobedience with us. But if we want the look to turn into a little bit like more like glamorous and like ready toned, I definitely wanted this shade. And this is Fire from Red Dragon palette from Odens Eye. So let's watch this. If you do not have that shade, the Patrick Ta shade that I mentioned earlier, a very similar shade would be this, but this one has like a little more specialness to it. It shifts to a green. You can definitely use this also. I was debating on whether to put that shade or the Patrick Ta shade, but I felt like for me, I definitely needed like a burgundy shimmer. Again, this is Fire from the Red Dragon palette from Odens Eye. Can you see the palette coming together? I love these tones for holidays. The next shade again is from the Pat McGrath Bronze Seduction palette. I know, this is a holiday palette. How can I help myself? The next shade is this Rose Gold shade, and this is called Rose Gold 005 from Bronze Seduction palette. So let's watch that. Again, this is like a baked shadow. It's so pretty, especially for the holidays. It's so textural, it's so dimensional. Really, really pretty shade. There you go. Now that is Rose Gold 005 from the Bronze Seduction palette. Look at that shade. It's stunning. I definitely wanted like cool tone looks as well as like a hint of warm tone also in this. And I feel like we captured it pretty well. Let's move on. Okay, the next shade is again from JD Glow, and this is the shade called Unexpected. This is neutral but glam at the same time. It has such a beautiful quality to it. It has definitely like a brown red base to it, but it shifts to like a green. It's very neutral but glam at the same time. So I definitely wanted this. So this is Unexpected from JD Glow. Let's watch that. Oh my God. I forgot how special it was. Look at that. I don't even know if it can capture it or not. Can you see that? Cannot. The next shade is another matte shade. We definitely want to build up our crease, and for that, again, I've taken the matte from the Bronze Seduction palette, and this is the shade that we are using, and this is called Entrapment, this neutral brown shade, but it can go a little rosy too, depending on like what kind of a brush you're applying it with. Like if you use like a big fluffy brush, it turns to like, it's a rosy brown shade. So I feel like it will go with those red tones as well as those neutral brown tones too. So that is Entrapment from the Bronze Seduction palette. Really, really pretty shade. Now the last shade in the palette, I definitely wanted like a sparkly green shade. And when I think of like holidays and sparkly green shade, I definitely wanted to include the Pretties for Your Face Brocade shade, and that is this shade, this green shade. It goes like an emerald to like a goldy green shade, By the way, this is the palette that I just created myself for like holidays. So yeah, ignore that, but I'm talking about this shade. I love to make my own palettes if you don't know me. I feel like I get like new palettes every week when I'm like curating that palette. And that's the fun about makeup. You don't need to buy every time. You can make your own stuff. And that is brocade. Look how textural and beautiful that is. Really, really pretty. So that is my entire palette swatched for you guys. I'll show you in the outside lighting too how this palette looks because it's super textural, super dimensional. Now let's create an eye look using this palette. I don't know what look are we gonna come out with, but let's begin. At least we know the crease shade. So let's begin with that. I'm gonna start off with this shade, Entrapment, and then I'm gonna build my inner and the outer corners with Disobedience. So let's begin with that. How are your holiday season going? Like, I feel like this is like my favorite season of the year. I love Christmas. Christmas being right around the corner. I cannot wait for the decorations to be completed. I love decorating my house for Christmas. Cannot wait for that. Look how beautiful that shade is for the transition. Really, really pretty. I'm going to take that same shade on my lower lash line too. Obviously, we're going to go a little glam with this like palette. We have to, but I have to go to church after this, so I'm not gonna go crazy. Really pretty shade. And the beauty about the Pat McGrath palettes is like you can build and like build up your eyeshadow to like a deepening shade or to a transitioning shade very, very nicely. So I'm going with like a very, very light hand just so that I use this shade as like my transitioning shade. And that's a beautiful crease shade for me. Now let's start building the eyeshadows. We are going to dip into that Disobedient shade for sure, but I definitely wanted to show you the fire shade from the Red Dragon palette, how that performs with like a red burgundy eyes. So let's do that. I'm going to take that fire shade, tap off the excess, and start building up the inner and the outer corners. I'm going to take this shade Fire on a definer brush and I'm going to define my lower lash line with this shade. Now let's move on to that Disobedient shade. I'm going to take the same brush that we used with that Fire shade, but now start tapping it in the outer corners because now we are building the depth. I'm going to take the same shade on my lower lash line too, just like that. I'm going to take the first brush that we used with this Entrapment shade and just go over everything on that crease so that everything is blended beautifully. Now from now onwards, you can just go any which ways. You can apply that blue shade, my shade, that topper shade. You can definitely go with that what is this called? Unexpected shade, or with like Minka and Emma. What are we gonna do? Oh my God. Options, options, options. I feel like we should start with this shade, Unexpected, and we can tap Emma on top of it to create some like pizzazz. Let's begin. I'm gonna go as lightly as I can, but I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna go. I have a little bit of Unexpected from JD Glow. And I'm starting to tap that on the center of my eyelid. Now, because this has like that burgundy base, I feel like it'll go really, really well. And I have the slightest bit on my finger because I don't want too much of it. Just want like a hint of the shade, but you can see how spectacular and dimensional the shade is. And that can be like a look by itself. like without a doubt, without a doubt. I'm gonna just melt the edges with no additional product, with the same brush that we used with Fire and Disobedient, just to melt everything together, just like that. And that can be like a very subtle kind of a look. You can finish off with liner and mascara, but we being we, we're gonna tap into Minka. Oh my God. Should we do Emma? Yeah, let's do Emma. I'm gonna take a very, very, very tiny little bit. You saw how much I dipped into it. And I'm gonna tap that right in the center. And that will just pizzazz our look. Oh my God, stunning. I almost covered everything that I did with Unexpected. But you will have like that hint of bluey, greeny, tealy shade from Unexpected in the background coming through, just because I'm not like packing up the shade Emma. But I wanted like a hint of gold in that look, just to make it a little more glam. And I feel like once we have like tapped on this, we definitely need to intensify our inner and outer corners. So let's do that. I'm going to dip into the shade Disobedient, this one, and just building my inner and outer corners with it. I'm also going to take this shade VR Fire Opal, and I'm going to place that on my inner corners just for a subtle pop. It's not a subtle pop, it's like boom bam shabang, but whatever. Now I'm going to finish off my eyes with some liner and mascara, and I'll get right back. And that is my final eye look. I really hope that you guys enjoyed my holiday palette, my custom created holiday palette, and the eye look that I created with you guys. I really hope that you guys enjoyed all this holiday season with your family and your friends. And if you did like this video, you know what to do. Do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.